having a good conversation with someone that is totally in sync with what you're saying and is on your same frequency or wavelength is about the most satisfying thing that can happen to you throughout the day. It is tremendously empowering to feel heard and to feel seen. I'm Vivian Price, and I'm working on the project with Stratosphere Empowered Well-Being. And today we're going to talk about 3 little things that you can look at for seeking out these conversations and processing things with people that are compatible with you. I realized at a young age, I used to do exactly this with my friends in high school. And sometimes I would go over the conversation 2 times, 3 times, sometimes 4, 5 times with the same person. They'd get to the point where like, yeah, you told me that part already, right? And I'm like, yeah, but this time when I'm saying it, it has a different tone. You process it again in the evening, it had a different tone. You process it again the next day, now it's different. And it appears to the untrained ear that you're saying the same thing, but you yourself realize, or I would realize by then, as I used to talk with my best friend, I was like, this is sounding different now. I'm like, do you feel, she was a little more in tune also. She was like, yeah, there's something different now with this angle of how you're seeing it. So the constant processing refines the process. The more you process things, just like anything you practice, you'll become better at processing things. So number 1 is losing the fear of continual processing. Sometimes the escape is, I don't want to think about this anymore. I don't want to go. How many times have, now, one thing is running a thought into the ground. If you're at that point where you're like, it's obstructing your daily activities to continue to have this thought, then maybe it does need some shelf life so that you can operate and function normally. This is what happens when it's a high intensity thought or high emotional intensity thought, where it's starting to perturb the general vibration in your being and you are unable to move about your day naturally, right? So also a little reminder that my videos are unedited, unfiltered, and with no special effects. So bear in mind that I've really come to embrace re-engaging with films, videos, stories, and stuff that is in a natural, functional pace for my nervous system to be able to grasp the concepts. Seeing everything at hyper speed or listening to things super quickly can be one way to get things done faster, but we're wired with nature for a certain rhythm. So when I was considering how am I going to make this work and the technology, and obviously I enjoy some of the more elaborate video making, it's just really mind-blowing what's online nowadays. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can appreciate there being some special lighting, some nice things in the background. I'll get there. I said, I'll get there. But what I really want to preserve is the natural pace of thoughts. And this is exactly what we're missing in our processing. We're trying to rush the process, right? We're afraid that we're processing it too much. So if we can just do it a little bit faster, we might be able to get rid of it quicker and then move on to the result of the process. But even now, as a grown adult, I have found different ways. Maybe I don't have that many friends and they don't have that much time to process something with me. They want to share, or we get together to have an event, to make a memory. This is more how friendship has fallen, because people have life, school, education. You know, there's not that much time span like when we were younger. But I do recall having a few friends that will just want to be able to sit with a thought or a concept or an idea of yours. And I enjoy processing other people's ideas or thoughts. I'm like, oh, let's consider that. So if you're going to do it anyway, I say, apart from be fearless, enjoy that journey, right? The journey of the process. So number 2 will happen naturally if you continue to process your thoughts and what you're going through with people. There will happen a natural selection of processing with this person gives me X result, and processing with this person gives me Y result. Why is that? Now, some people think finding the ideal people to banter with or chat with or do is because they're telling you what you want to hear. So that might be appealing to you. And I think in a short-term satisfaction, maybe that can become appealing. But what I find is the true engagement. Like today I had a conversation with a young woman that I just found brilliant, dazzling to share a conversation with her in such a short time. And it wasn't that she said or did anything that I needed to hear, but she was on the same frequency and she was in the same level of risk taking and risk management. So launching this project, I'm in an entrepreneurship course, so there is a level of risk of just getting out there, putting out there. We're doing this on our own, right? And because she has this frequency, it's like this is what they're writing, and you just slip right in. And there's nothing specific needs to be said, but this is highly motivating for the processing. I'd say even that takes your processing to a higher level than what it might be with someone just telling you, oh yeah, that's a great idea, or la. Now you definitely know you're not with the right vibe people when they're shooting it down, right? And I have another friend of mine back home, and I remember her telling me for the first time, she said, I want to make $1 million online. And I was like, that's interesting. But for sure, there are people who make $1 million. Why wouldn't she be there? I'm like, that's something I didn't know that's where she was financially, right? She's my neighbor and she's my yoga. She'd come to the yoga classes. I think yoga is a big mind opener, right? You're like, there's everything in the yoga class. It could be anything, anyone. There's such a wide range of possibilities of directions that people are going in. And what you really learn is to listen and be compassionate to whatever they're processing, whatever they're coming to you with, or say, I'm doing this, whatever. And you're just like, wow. And how do you do it? And what are you doing? I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know that was possible. But the wavelength is open. I feel like the yoga mindset has many tunnels of perspective. And that's a great gift, because obviously then it's almost like you can try on not just one person's shoe to see how their shoe feels, but you're just like, you can try on many shoes and be like, wow, I can understand. This is the way they say that we become one. if you had everyone's shoe on at the same time, you would notice I am actually all these people living all these things at one time, because we have all at one time come or gone through, and what happens to me will happen to you. What happens to you happens to me. In some core emotional foundation, right? It's not exactly with that person, but the emotion is there, and the emotions are the ones that unite us when we're thinking of finding people that can understand. We try to find a root connection of, well, they felt pain, they know what pain is, so you can bring it into that, right? So the first thing was, be fearless in your processing, just keep going. The second thing is, thanks to this process, find the people around you that help you feel empowered while you're processing, because it's so much easier to flow and talk when it's almost like you need their river to be flowing at the same flow so that it can work. Like I said, it has to be both sided. It's not just one person going off on a rant, right? Because then the other one is just passively listening. It's the energy is the same and you can feel it. And then the third thing is, when you're talking and you're hearing your voice going out and you're hearing what you're saying, it's a one chance moment. Sometimes you said something so eloquent or so to the point, you're excited about it. 5 minutes later, you're like, what did I say? That was it. That grasped it exactly. I remember in therapy when she pinpointed something in my arm that had an injury. I'm like, wait, stop. And I got my notebook and I'm like, I gotta write that down. That was because I know, I'm like, I'm gonna remember afterwards. I'm not gonna remember, right? So those key moments, it's like, get the notebook, write it down. And so what I've noticed is, now that we live in the text and audio world, I'm much more of an audio person. And I've sent people audios. I'll wait a few minutes and then I'll be like, what's it going to be like on her end listening to this? And I'll go back and play it for myself. Sometimes I'll hear it and I'll be like, yeah, okay. Other times I'll hear it and I'm like, that is not landing at all. Or it's not what I think the person meant. Or it's not what, now we have the option, we can delete it. Delete for everyone, ding, a retake. But I noticed there's who's the wisest of the wise in your wise world? Who can advise you better about yourself than yourself? Yourself. So I listen to the audio about myself when I'm talking about something myself, not when I'm talking about something they asked me about and feedback for them, then it's about them, right? But when I'm trying to explain something about myself and I'm listening to myself and I say, yes, this part cinnamon, this, and it's just an amazing world where it's almost like you're instantly split in two. You are the audio and you are the God of your audio, listening to your past self that was 5 minutes ago. And you get instant processing of your process. Another way that this can happen is if you journal things. And I don't journal anymore. But when I learned to write, I was so excited. I remember, and I was just and all the kinds of cursive and curly stuff and all the stuff I used to do writing. I have books and books and books of journals that I wrote as a kid all the way through high school and then going further on. I never owned a computer or anything like that. So this was my data processing system. And thankfully, thank God for this, because apparently I learned through therapy that when you write it with the hand, not only are you processing it with your mind and your thoughts, that you're like, okay, I made this combination of words, now I write it down, but your body gets to be a part of the vibration of the word written. And they say it's even more powerful than typing, because I said, well, I'm typing the words in now when I'm typing in my computer, but it's not the same feeling as when I have to manually make the letters, and this is a vibration that's coming from me into the creation of the letters of what I'm feeling, and the vibration is written in those shapes, which are the alphabet. Right? But at the end, if you look at it, it's a bunch of little shapes, right, that we're making. And some days your shapes will look one way, and one day your shapes will look a different way, and that's the vibration coming through. You can also express it so differently, you know? There's nothing like typing. And I was so angry, exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. But in a journal, I mean, that can come to life. And I was so angry. And then you can put your face in your rage and draw some real dark circles. And then you're like, right? I was angry. I really got it out. I love that one with where Jerry Seinfeld says, no, you can't be like, bang, and hang up the phone. No, you have to be like, I told him. Beep. So finally, listening to yourself. You are your best empowerer. You can look back on your own processing and reprocess yourself. It's amazing how just the second take of what you just thought is already next level. It's just a natural growth from the mind's like, yes, I already saw it that way, and now I'm going to see it this way. So thank you for following. You can like and subscribe. This is a project that I'm going to work on this year of empowerment, and just noticing these little details has been a joy in my life, and to share it with all of you. Have a good evening.